Good morning! Back at Lillybrook. Got a new lens on the camera. That broke the bank a little bit. Now, about 9 months ago, I watched the worst advice video on YouTube I have ever seen. Professional golfer. It was targeted at the 7 to 12 handicap range, and it was break 80 every time you go out. Which is a bit odd because there's professionals on TV who don't break 80 every time they go out. But besides that, what was their first piece of advice? It was hit your driver everywhere. Hit it as far as you can, get as close to the green as you can, because, and you've probably already guessed it, because strokes gained says so. Right. The problem with us amateurs is every single day is different. We are not consistent. So this idea that we should follow strokes gained is a bit silly. Because every day we have a different fault. I'm going to try my hardest at this. I'm not going to hit fake bad drives. There may well be some bad drives. But one fault we often have is the driver, the longer clubs. In fact, the longer the club and the less loft we have, the less chance we have of being consistent. And strokes gained is designed for professionals and elite amateurs. Something that we most certainly are not. This second hole, I'd never take driver. The hole curves the wrong way for my particular shape. And if I do get the driver away really well, then I'm going to threaten the ditch and a possible penalty. So I've got two risks. But in the interests of science and get as close to the green as you can, it's going to be driver. Better take some extra balls onto this tee. Now there's no doubt that I hit bad shots with my 3-wood and my 5-wood and my 3 hybrid from time to time. But it's the amount of damage you can do with a driver. That's something that pro offering advice didn't mention. Did not mention the amount of risk you take with a driver on a hole that has hazards. Trees being hazards most of the time. We don't tend to have the sand and the water that you will find in America or Thailand. But it can be very painful with the driver when you get it wrong. Right, we're on the 6th now. I would never hit driver here. You know, this goes slightly downhill, so I don't need the length of the driver. It's plenty wide enough, but there's a snaky ditch across the fairway, so to get as close as I can brings the potential of penalty stroke into play. I suppose if I can just fade it down the right hand side, there's a bit of space there for the driver. But you've got to get better at golf, you've got to reduce your average on 18 holes. You've got to reduce your average here. And the way you reduce your average for this hole is put the ball in play, and that's going to leave me an 8 or a 9 iron into the green. If I go with driver and I get as close as a pitching wedge and I'm above ground, why does strokes gained think that I will make more birdies with my pitching wedge than with my 9 iron or my 8 iron? In fact, with the driver, I'm more likely to get quite a few penalty strokes. Don't hit your driver as far as you can. It doesn't work, honest. Now with the 3-wood down here, I can commit to it. And I'm usually getting down to 9 iron distance. But we're trying to shape this driver into the right part of the fairway. I've missed the fairway and I've hit it shorter than my 3-wood.
That's the other thing with driver. Good 3-wood goes further than driver and straighter. And being in the rough, I was unable to get a decent connection on the ball, so I'm miles away, which brings in the 3-putt. Now if I'd hit 3-wood down the fairway as normal, I wouldn't have this for par.
Number 10. Out of bounds, right. Ditch, right. Lost ball, right. Big trees, right. Can't go for the green, right. And the left, well, that's not much better either. And the other thing is, if I do actually get my Sunday best drive away into the fairway, I'm going to be left with some piddly half shot I never practiced, because quite simply you can't practice everything, and piddly half shots are one of the things that I sacrifice in my day-to-day practice life. That didn't come out well, did it? Anyway, driver, because you've got to get as close as you can.
I must admit feeling quite uncomfortable going against my instincts of playing safe, putting the ball in play, but most of the time I'm actually getting away with it this evening.
Never felt so nervous over a damn shot. Hitting a club I don't want to hit.
See, because of my back I'm inconsistent at the moment, but by hitting driver I've not only taken a big risk, but I've given myself a strange yardage that doesn't fit with my clubs. However, there is a good golfer in here occasionally.
The way you lower your scores and reduce your handicap is by cutting out mistakes. If I'm on a par 72 with 4 par 5s to have a go at, and I have a really good day, I might get 3 birdies. If I'm in Thailand and I've got a caddy who knows the greens, I might get 4 on my very best day. But most of the time I'm getting 1 or 2. And you need 2 birdies to cancel out 1 stinky tee shot. So the best thing that you can do to reduce your handicap is to get rid of the stinky tee shot. So every opportunity you've got to take less than driver, to leave yourself down the fairway with a full wedge or a full 9-iron, rather some piddly 75-yard shot with one club won't reach and the other club's too big, although I am rather talented and put it to 3.5 feet, you're going to do a lot better. Your average for this hole, this 10th that we've just played, will go down if you use a 3-wood off the tee than if you use driver. I know, I've watched so many playing partners playing their second shot out of the trees and walking off with a 6, even if they don't lose the damn ball. Right, so that original video, how to break 80 more often or how to break 80 all the time, I can't remember what it was. So it's targeted at the sort of like the 7 to 12 handicap range. So if I took 2 9 handicappers at the start of the season, beginning of April, and I said to one of them, I want you to hit driver on all the short par 4s, I want you to get as close as you possibly can. And I said to the other, I want you to hit the appropriate lofted fairway wood off the tee that will get you to about a wedge or a 9-iron, even as far back as an 8-iron. And then at the end of the year, end of September, we compared handicaps. One of them, I'm absolutely certain, would be down to 8, possibly even 7. And the other one, I'm absolutely certain, would be up to 11. Because you simply cannot make enough birdies to wipe out your mistakes. And getting your handicap down is about reducing mistakes, and that the mistakes you make are small ones. Ones where you can chip out, play onto the green, 2-putt, take a bogey. Or perhaps a single putt par. You can't come back from a ball out of bounds. deep in the trees, lost in the water. You just can't, especially on your bad day when you're doing that 4 or 5 times. Right, up 13, and for me to try and hold this fairway with the driver, I got to aim a very long way left. I'm not comfortable with that, really I'm not. I'd much rather tonk a 3-wood down here.
For me to hold this fairway, I have got to aim left, a long way left. And it's put me under too much pressure. So now I'm hitting a provisional. And exactly the same error, as you would expect. Too much pressure.
I'm not going 5 off the tee.
Well, I've got the first ball, but I've got to go over that tree. So this is just a wedge. And because of the shape of the fairway, it's going to bounce hard right and run right. And I've finished up where I would have normally have hit a 3 hybrid. With just an 85-yarder in, a little unsighted. But I could have been on this green in 2 and no lost golf ball. See, when you hit driver, it runs all the way off to the left of the screen, and then you get behind those trees, and then you've got to figure out how to get through those trees and over the front bunker.
Now, not every par 4 is a no-no. The 10th at the Herefordshire, it's not very long. There's just enough width to it that you can hit an average drive and get away with it. And if you hit a good one, then you're into the greenside bunker, flip it out, 2 putts par, walk away quite happy. The 13th at Burford is 295. It generally plays downwind. And again, it's wide enough. So if you get into a greenside bunker with your driver, you've got a par. If you don't, then you've got your chip and putt birdie. There's another one. The 8th at wherever. I can't remember, I'm getting old. But there's plenty of short par 4s where it's wide enough, there's no trees, there's no hazards, there's no lost ball. Have a bash at it. Trust your short game. But as soon as you've got hazards, well, then you've got to start reining in what you take off the tee. Take the 14th here. There's no way this is a driver hole. No way, but I've got to have a go at it. You've got to get as close as you can, remember? Hit it as far as you can. That's the only way you'll get your handicap down. Fortunately, I'm playing with golf balls that I didn't buy. I found them in the bushes. I lost my provisional just there on 13. Fortunately, as I say, it's not one I paid for.
Well, to have any chance here, I've got to hit it with a fade and get it to the right of the stick. And even then I'm not going to have a chance. Okay, you may not have a hole like this on your course, but I'm left here with a ball well above my feet. I'm not even aiming at the green, never mind aiming at the flag, because this thing's going to hook like crazy with a lofted club in my hand. Imagine being this close to the green and not being able to go at the flag. But on this particular hole, when you use driver, you're putting the result in the hand of God or gravity, because the ball will go hard left. It'll go down that bank. I've seen it down on the path by the 17th and even in the bushes.
Before I go, be very careful over whose advice you take on YouTube. They're telling you wrong, and I'm telling you right. If you really do want to break 80 more often, if you really do want to reduce that 9 handicap and get to 7, maybe even 6, the way you do it is remove risk. So take your lofted wood on these short par 4s. Reduce your average over the year on 6 or even 8 holes by a quarter shot, and you're 2 shots better. and your mate who's hitting driver all the time because of ego and strokes gained and what some idiot said on YouTube, well, he's adding a quarter stroke average, or even more, for 5 or 6 or 8 holes. And his handicap's going to 10 or 11 because he took the wrong advice. Trust me, you got 14 clubs. You don't have to play all these short holes. Drive a lob wedge. Trust me. Ta-ra.